Hello and welcome back to Grass Me Up, the premium turf podcast. I'm Dr. Russell Sharp from Utreamer, and this is my platform for spouting out absolute gumph nonsense and my thoughts on various aspects to do with turf and turf health. So that's your lawn at home or sports turf. Today's subject, I thought I'd talk about anaerobic digestate. This is another one of these products that you'll find, or an ingredient you'll find in a lot of products nowadays, certainly in the last 10 years. It's an ingredient that has been put into fertilizers for lawns and other sectors, and some of the claims are good and are match what's in the product, and other claims are a bit far-fetched, so I thought I'd talk about this. So, anaerobic digestate sludge or organic material is the sludge that's left over when the anaerobic digestate process, which creates biogas and electricity, is when that's finished, that's the sludge that comes out. So rather than a composting, it's without oxygen. So you get this very high in ammonia brown sludge, either a liquid or a solid. And they have to do something with it. And originally, when anaerobic digestate first started being made, they sort of said, right, well, we can sell this to farmers and farmers will buy it because it's full of nutrients. And many farmers went, yeah, we'll have it for free, but we will not be paying for it. And as farmers, will say. And so you'll find digestates are lumped on fields and just left there for years and years. And then people said, well, maybe this is a fantastic fertilizer. You put it onto plants and it grows. So why don't we put it in fertilizer for other crops, in horticulture or for home and domestic use? So you'll find loads of products that will claim to be organic, natural, plant-based that contain anaerobic digestate, sludge or liquid, and this is where it's coming from. So what are the pros and what are the cons of using anaerobic digestate? Well, it does contain a lot of ammonium nitrogen, which up to 80% of the nitrogen is immediately available for the grass or the plants you're applying it to. Almost identical to synthetic fast-acting mineral fertilizer in that sense, except it's in ammonium form, which means that it's going to make the soil acidic and it's best for acid-loving plants. So I've always said anaerobic digestate is a great fertilizer for, say, pine trees, for example. When we make fertilizers here at Utreamer, we have a balance of ammonium, urea nitrogen, and nitrate nitrogen. We don't use digestate sludge in any of our products for a variety of different commercial and formulation reasons. So that's that. It's also biologically active, so it contains some organic carbon in there. So that could be a good thing. It could act as a biostimulant, or it could be feeding some of the diseases, the pathogens that sort of start off growing on inert material and then move on to your plants. The sort of things like I'm trying to think of they're called sapronecrotic pathogens. So things like what's the one? There's one in trees I'm trying to think of. Honey fungus, that's the one. Yeah, but there's loads of different pathogens like that. The grey mold, for example, is like that. And so there's that. So it depends on your soil. If you've not got much organic matter in your soil, it could be a good one. If you've already got some organic matter in your soil, if it's dark and brown and sort of peaty, then that's something to consider. Too much easily available sugars and things like this can lead to anaerobic conditions and sort of like flooding responses in your grass. So sort of a case-by-case basis. It does contain other macro and micronutrients, NPK, magnesium and sulfur in a single application, although it doesn't contain very much calcium at all. And sorry, that's Dane. He's just rolling around outside. Dane, I'm recording a podcast. Shut up. Doesn't contain much calcium. So we've seen some reports, or heard some reports from customers saying that they've been sold anaerobic digestate-based products for helping with compaction and drainage issues, which would always look for us personally, we'd always recommend a calcium-based product for that. And obviously our big product is liquid gypsum, our unique product. So I would not be applying anaerobic digestate to soils suffering from compaction, especially because of that its sludgy nature is not going to help that. If you've got a sandy, free draining soil, it could be a good product for you. It should be cheap and cost effective and sustainable. Anaerobic digestate they have to get rid of it. It's a problem for the producers. It's a byproduct, a co-product, a waste product. And so you shouldn't be paying a lot for it, but people will obviously stick a label on and try and use fancy marketing, just as people will do the same with iron sulfate and say they've got it's a premium turf fertilizer. So be careful of over-marketed anaerobic digestate products. You should be able to get it fairly cheap, especially in bulk. You can get it pelletized, and the fiber and solid product as well, with the water's removed. That's probably going to be more expensive. If it's made from single inputs, that's probably going to be better. So it's like Branston make one just from potatoes and potato fiber from the peels, whereas sort of stuff coming from green bin waste and things like this could have, old batteries and heavy metals in and things like this. So the source material, try and find out what sort of source material it's going to come from. One of the major disadvantages of anaerobic digestate is that it smells. It's got a horrible smell in its raw form. People who work at anaerobic digestate factories often smell. That's why they get paid quite a lot. And so when it's sprayed on, it could smell. You could make your garden smell for a bit. Because of that ammonium and salt level, the electrical conductivity, there's a high chance of scorch. So you have to be really careful with liquid digestate, especially in warm weather or dry weather. Can severely scorch fine turf grasses like bentgrass or fescue. You can lose a lot of the ammonia and the nitrogen, especially if you are messing around with the pH and things like this. If you've put things like lime, if you're liming your soil, most sports turf and turf lawn care people don't do that, but that's something to consider. And we've talked about the contamination risk if you're using sort of green bin waste digestate, and the nutrient content will vary from batch to batch because it's not a consistent input into there. So overall, my verdict would be liquid anaerobic sludge. Generally don't recommend it for high end. I would recommend it on sandy soils that have very low organic matter content. But then again, I would also recommend things like humic and fulvic acids, seaweed extracts, to add that organic carbon and the biostimulants there. There's the smell risk, the scorch risk, and could potentially block filters as well if it's not. That's another thing to consider. If you're using a backpack sprayer, then something that's based from a sludge, a liquidized sludge, is always going to be an issue, and you're not going to want to put your hand in to your spray tank to clean your filter if it's got anaerobic digestate, because you are going to stink if you do that. Whereas if you've got something like urea, ammonium nitrate, or iron sulfate, you might stick your hand in, even though and then wash it off quickly afterwards. You're not going to smell. It's not desirable. It's not a nice thing to stick your hands in 20, 100 litres of fertilizer, but sticking your hand in 100 litres of digestate sludge, it's going to be pretty grim. So there you go. So that's my take on anaerobic digestate-based fertilizers. If you've got an opinion on this, you think I've made something up, you think I've not kept up with the science, you've got an alternative opinion, let me know. I'm more than happy to do a follow-up based on your comments. Had no follow-ups on the episode I did on moss, so everything must have been absolutely correct and everyone agreed with me. I'm sure that's not the case. Thank you very much for listening. If you could leave an Apple Podcast review, that would be fantastic. And any comments would be gratefully received. Until next time, thank you very much for listening to Grass Me Up from Utrema. Get onto our website, utrema.co.uk, and buy all your premium turf fertilizers, biostimulants, and biopesticides. Goodbye.